jump on a stump, run through a spiral, hide out in a cave. You don't even have to be a little kid to take a walk on the wild side at the new Lucy and Ian Family Garden at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center. There's no age limit here for discovery, imagination, and adventure among native plants, wildlife, and water conservation methods.
We believe that this is a family commitment. If we don't join in that commitment from our very youngest to our very eldest, then we are missing out on the joy that we can bring to multiple generations.
15 years in conception, it's become a reality to extend Lady Bird's mission.
What was your favorite?
The nest.
When you watch kids run around at the Wildflower Center, we always say, don't run, slow down, be careful, don't hurt yourself. And it was really designed to be viewed from the path instead of really being interactive.
To create an interactive garden safe for running around, they collaborated with lead designer W. Gary Smith, renowned for children's garden designs.
One thing I love about doing children's gardens is you can get away with anything, because it's all about fantasy. And there aren't that many places in landscape architecture where you can just let your fantasy self run wild. For me, the main thing is imagination and providing opportunities for kids to make up stuff, express themselves, use their imagination. Here, for example, we're not going to have any interpretive signage. There's not going to be anything to read that says this is groundwater and why groundwater is important. What we're going to have is a bunch of karst boulders, a bunch of Swiss cheesy native Texas boulders, and a hand pump, a farm pump, and they're going to fill pitchers of water with the pump, and they're going to walk over and they're going to pour the water on the rock, and they're going to see it disappear into the ground. And they may not even learn that that's about groundwater recharge. They might just have fun pouring water and having it go into the ground. And then maybe the second time they come back, or the third time, and they'll come back because they had fun the first time, maybe that time they'll learn about groundwater recharge.
Working with contractors Spa Glass and TBG Landscape Architects, the new garden is a project of the Sustainable Sites Initiative.
The materials that were used, like the paints and solvents, were all low VOC. Obviously, we're using native plants, and that's one of the things, is using native or adapted plants so that we can reduce the amount of water we're using and not introduce invasive species. Human health is actually part of the Sustainable Sites Initiative, so just providing a place for people to be outdoors in a safe environment actually gets us credits for that.
Along with rainwater collection, they connected several rain gardens to capture water and control runoff.
And what's fun about this garden is there is a combination of sun and shade and water, so we can plant wetland plants for sun and shade, and xeric plants for sun and shade, and rain garden plants.
They incorporated swales into their stormwater management. To keep moisture in, they chose different mulches to suit the plants and for visual appeal.
I love the pecan mulch. Aesthetically, I like it because I just think it looks nice. It has a nice rich color, but as it fades, the pieces are kind of round and they look more like dirt when they fade. But it's also, the pecan shells are local. It's a byproduct of the pecan industry, and it's local. And then one of my favorite things about it is we have a big pile of it in the back, and you see the squirrels going through it. Like, I know there's a nut in here somewhere, and you can just laugh. Keep looking.
One architectural element started with Gary's imagination and craftsmen to replicate plants that spiral.
What we're doing right now is putting in these mosaic tile graphics. And so there are going to be images of different plants in the mosaic tile. So it's going to be really colorful and really playful.
One of the things that we're also talking about is not just spirals in nature, but patterns in nature. And so you can find patterns in a lot of these different plants. So it may be a spiral, but it might just be some other kind of pattern. It's another way to encourage people to explore and to think about what they're looking at.
One of the subtle connections is to the Fibonacci sequence spiral. Gary's grotto stemmed from his love of English follies and hill country caves.
So it's kind of our English garden take on Hamilton Pool.
Historic West Texas cave pictographs inspired Gary's renditions.
The grotto itself, I think, will be a lot of fun too. There's a waterfall that goes over the top that flows into the creek that goes right below it. It's going to be a nice cool place in the summertime when it's hot out. So it'll be just kind of a, hidey hole. You have to duck to get in if you're an adult, but, little people can get in easily. It's really designed for them.
To keep things safe, they planted sharp-edged, prickly specimens atop the grotto.
All of the stones on the property, except for the flagstone and the chopped block limestone, came from the Wildflower Center's property. We really know how to grow rocks here, plants and rocks.
The stumpery is another English landscape garden idea. What we're doing here is it'll be a play place for kids. So we've got some nice big stumps, and they're kind of arranged in a way that children will climb on them and walk around them.
They brought in trees felled from drought.
But the inverted cedar stumps were from the site here. The tree bundles are mostly cedar elm, but other things too, I think, that are mixed in with there that just kind of create those kind of interesting tree forms.
And what about climbing into a jumbo-sized bird nest?
And the idea is that kids could pretend that they're little baby birds.
If kids take a fall like a baby bird, thick, spongy mulch is a soft place to land. Once complete, these cedar structures will be wildlife blinds to quietly view animals coming to a drinking and bathing pool.
There'll be upright posts and then cedar woven across, so that with little windows woven into it, so you can peek out at different heights for different height people, and then you can look through and then observe whatever is coming to the water. And then, of course, the plantings that are all around there are intended to attract any kind of animal or wildlife of any kind. So we have butterfly nectar plants, hummingbird plants, fruiting plants that will attract songbirds, bark that will be good for nesting materials, so whatever, trying to get a range of things to attract wildlife.
A blind of another sort is the Metamorphosis maze. Once grown up, spirals of various yaupons, Texas sage, Barbados cherry, and wax myrtle will excite an expedition to get to the center.
Interestingly, we're using mountain laurels, which most people don't think about using mountain laurels as a hedge, but one of our volunteers at his home, they're in front of his house and they're sheared these nice tight little boxes, and I thought, that's just a beautiful hedge. And then we also have the play lawn, which will be a big place for, kids to run.
Thanks to Linda Johnson-Robb, families can gather for events in the solar-powered pavilion. Donors like Sandy and Dudley Human make even a bench break an adventure in wildlife connections. Volunteers dug in to plant hundreds of the greatest hits for drought, wildlife, and ongoing appeal. Altogether, the Family Garden's embedding powerful messages and memories, even if everyone doesn't get it right this minute.
And for me, what garden making is all about is providing opportunities for transformation. We forget that sometimes about children, that they're capable of having that transformational experience as well.
It won't be one of those destinations where you've been, you come, you've seen, you conquer, you know. It'll be a place that entices you and invites you. Come again, play again, have fun again, learn again. But learn because it's your delight, not your instruction.
I love the cave.